Hello and welcome to another episode of Healing from the Mess with me, Lizzie. I just got off the phone with Millie. And if you've been listening for a while, you know that she is the host of Escaping Narcissist Mothers podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. 2 hours. And it was so nice to feel validated. It was nice to have someone who has been through something similar. We actually both found out we have something in common, which was pretty, other than having a narcissist for a mother. It was good. It made me want to come on here because I need to talk about something, because I've kind of been holding my tongue. So I did just finish this book, which was recommended in one of Millie's podcast episodes. It's called Will I Ever Be Good Enough by Karyl McBride, PhD. And in the second last chapter, which was why I almost contacted my mom, or as we will refer to her from now on, I have a hard time calling her by her first name. A lot of people have the same. We're going to call her Sherry. I almost called her because of that chapter. What chapter is it? I want to tell you the name of this chapter because this chapter got me. Which you would think it wouldn't, because it shouldn't, but let's see if they have it. Okay, it's chapter 13, My Turn, Dealing with Mother During Recovery. I learned something when I finished the chapter, because I was halfway through and I almost broke down. Because it talks about grief work. You become less reactive, you make clear boundaries, you get less triggered, you accept that she is who she is, you have low to zero expectations. You can feel empathy for this person who went through what they went through and find peace because of it. Trust your intuition. This all really led to a lot of things, because I think part of me wanted to comfort her, and then part of me wanted to scream. And then at the end of that chapter, Karyl McBride said something about feeling gratitude for what your narcissistic parent gave you. And I wrote down what I'm grateful for. I have these beautiful brown eyes because of my mom. Because of Sherry. My character, I became because she taught me to be a good person. Strange, but she did. And my ability to be unbothered by other people's opinions about me. Sometimes they give you things that they couldn't give themselves. And they didn't get themselves. And it's little nuggets like that she gave me when I was entering puberty, when I was in puberty, when I entered puberty, that I really took to heart. But I also need to talk about why my mental health has been so effed up this month. Not just because of Mercury retrograde, because that is totally different animal, and I'm sure it didn't help. But someone recently was humiliated publicly on social media. Like, this person was blatantly showing that they were cheating on their spouse, and in the same town where they lived. And I couldn't figure out why it got to me. Why I was reacting the way I did, why I was so upset, why I cried, why I was enraged. It's because I saw it my whole life. Sherry didn't do it publicly, but she definitely had her ways of humiliating, and she spread lies. She spread lies about my dad to his kids, me and my brother. She spread lies about her second husband, to his niece and nephew, and to me and my brother. And she spread lies through her now husband's church about him to the pastor's wife, just spread lies about him to try to ruin each one of their characters. That's why it bothers me. That's why I got so upset. That's why I've been having such a hard time wrapping my head around it. Because I saw it during my childhood. I saw it in my early adulthood. And I saw it as a full-blown adult. And then I saw it in a friend. They spread lies about two people that they dated. They would lie to each of those partners about the other one. They cheated on both partners with the other one. So they be with this one, they cheat on them with this one, then they get with this one and cheat on them with this one. I walked away from each one of these people who did these things. I'm no longer friends with that friend. I no longer talk to Sherry, and I no longer will have anything to do with the person who humiliated on social media someone I genuinely care about. I don't handle that well because I've watched it my whole life. And I was in the middle of it. I know that. And then there's also the jealousy. So I never really saw her as jealous of me until I started really kind of like looking more into it and seeing more things. But I remember from my childhood, this is how I know this isn't brand new. This isn't something that just kind of happened after my dad or when they got divorced. No, this has been happening for a long time, because when we lived in my childhood home, we had a neighbor. She lived, she had to be 2 houses down. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it was 2 houses down. And maybe 3, but I'm pretty sure it's only 2. And she believed this one was jealous of her, was copying her style, was copying everything she did, was trying to dress like her, trying to act like her. She said really mean things about her and her daughters. And it was like, it's weird. Were you jealous of her? Did you want to be like her? Like, what was the point of that? I don't know. And then there's how do you accept that your own mother is a narcissist who refuses to change, who refuses to take accountability, who refuses to go to therapy, who refuses to question their thoughts? How do I let her go? Because see, on our journey, on our grieving journey, acceptance is the first step. You have to accept that's who they are, and then you can deal with all the rest. You deal with the anger, the regret, the guilt, what the word is. It's not, I think there's hope, but there's another word too. And it's weird. You go through all these stages. But you have to accept that's who they are. Because, I'm still like I'm trying. Because if this is who she's been my entire life, and she's been to multiple therapists, and she's been admitted several times into institutions, and she still hasn't changed. She's never going to change. And I want you to know I said that out loud while looking myself directly in the eye, because I need to hear that. And maybe you need to hear it too. They are never going to change. I and it was something Millie and I talked about today too, was why am I so open? And it's funny because I know this. I've read it. I've heard it in podcasts. I've heard it in TikToks. And it's funny that I forgot until she said it to me. You're open because your mother made you tell her everything. Yeah, she did. You know, she knew I had my first kiss before I even told her. And it's funny, I didn't even count that as my first kiss. It's funny. Apparently, though, I did kiss a boy when I was 11. I don't remember. Like, I do not remember going through with it. At all. Um, sorry. I got an email. But I had to tell her everything. You should be able to decide what you tell them, what you tell anybody. You shouldn't ever feel like you have to disclose everything. Seriously. And that's why I went very low contact with my mother's husband, with Sherry's husband, because I have to. Um, I will remember not to say too much for a few weeks, and then I go right back to being an open book because that's who I am as a person. But it's because I was I have to tell you everything. And if I don't, she would stoop until she knew. She made me feel like I couldn't do anything because if I did it, she would know I did it. And then I realized that it was just a guessing game. Or she stooped and found something out and just asked me at the right moment. But she made me feel like I couldn't do anything because she would know. She was already going to know. And that sucks. It really does suck. It really puts you in a different position. And it makes life a little bit harder because no one, you don't owe anyone an explanation for anything. You don't owe them everything. You don't owe them the whole the you, even if you tell them like how what did you do today, and if you just say, I went to the store, went for a drive, even if you, let's say you stopped and got gas, just because you don't tell them you stopped and got gas doesn't mean you're lying. You just, A, forgot, or B, what does that have to do with anything else I did? Right? It's starting to kind of start to take back your power and be like, enough is enough, and share what you want and say, I'm not ready to share this yet. I will when I'm ready. Like, I still haven't finished, right, the podcast about 2006 because trying to remember things after my aunt died. There are things that stick out that I could talk about. But the rest of that year, there were really significant moments, but at the same time, there's so much that's hard to even remember because of how deep in grief I was. And it was funny because Millie and I were talking about how, like, she went to this funeral and she gave the woman, who lost her spouse a hug, and she felt her pain and started crying and then stopped because she's like, it's not about me. I don't want you to think it's about me. I'm not. When my aunt died, I didn't cry. I didn't want anybody to tell me they were sorry for my loss because my dad lost his sister and his best friend. My grandparents lost their daughter. My 2 cousins lost their mom. Don't reach out to me. Please take care of them. Like, I took care of my dad. My dad took care of my grandmother. My grandpa's wife took care of my grandfather. Everyone rallied around my cousins. Like, don't worry about her niece. I hid that pain for a very long time. Because, their pain was more important. I didn't acknowledge to myself that my pain was equally as important. I mattered too. But I just wanted to come on here, talk about what I talked about. Because I have my nice little wonderful journal. If you go on Etsy, check out Acorn and the Crow. Acorn and the Crow. Beautiful stationery. I have more coming. I will share that with you when it gets here. I'm telling you, amazing. Simply amazing. If you get the defective mystery bundle, they're not that defective. They still work just as well. They're just as gorgeous. Please go visit her page. Buy something if you can. There's lots of stickers as well. Cool stickers, some pens. Please go check her out. But thank you for listening to this episode. I appreciate all of you who tune in and who listen. And I hope you will join me next time for another episode of Healing from the Mess with me, Lizzie.